Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So before I get into today's video, I just want to say, no, it is not summer where I live. It is November down here in Texas, just like every other place in the world, I guess. But it is very hot this November. Not summer hot, so like 108 degrees, but it's hot enough that I need to wear this shirt. So if you're concerned about my health, don't be. It's fine. So poetry is hard, especially if you're beginning. So I am working on a poetry project this November, and it's interesting. So I challenged myself to do one new form a day for 30 days, which is how long NaNoWriMo goes. I entered as a NaNoWriMo rebel. And so poetry can be difficult, right? However, I want to give you some encouragement. There is a way to start, and it's very, very simple. I would start, personally, with the easiest forms, which are usually the shortest forms. Now, I know some people are going to disagree with me on that, and there are plenty of short forms that are very difficult, but today I wanted to share just some very short forms of poetry that are also fairly easy. So not all of them have a rhyme or a rhythm, and none of them have a meter in them, and they are super fun and very addictive too. So I ended up writing like 5 to 6 of these on the days that I was supposed to be doing them for NaNoWriMo, and they're so fun to do. So let's talk about that. So the first one I want to share with you is the easiest one, which is a haiku. Now I know haikus are often taught in English class, but they're often taught, I find, in the wrong way. So I was doing research on what a haiku is for my poetry project, and I came across many articles that kind of went against like what I had learned in English class when I was learning about haikus. So traditionally, we think of haikus with 3 lines, and they follow a syllable pattern of 5 syllables on the first line, 7 syllables on the second, 5 syllables on the third. You can think of it as like 5-7-5, that pattern. Haikus do not rhyme, so that's an easy part about writing haikus. The part that people tend to get wrong about haikus, I think, based on what I read, is that they think that they have to be about nature. Now, of course, haikus are loosely based on Japanese form that I'm not quite sure of the name of, and in that form you do have to write about nature, like that's just the general content of haikus in the original Japanese form. But in this westernized version of a haiku, generally they're just about everyday things. So it can be about a single moment of in time where you're just really contented. Oftentimes they have like an emotion surrounding them. So I'm going to read one of my haikus that I wrote for my Parallel Pieces project, and I'll just show you. So this one is called Dry Roses, and here it is. Garden with flowers, old woman tending sadly, dry blackened roses. And that's it. That's the whole poem. The cool thing about haikus is that they tend to be very straightforward and brief. You don't have to worry about knowing your rhymes or knowing meter or whatever in order to write a haiku. All you have to do is be able to fit a single emotion into 17 syllables. And that can seem difficult, and it does take practice. But you can think about it like staring at the world through your finger. I close my eye and I stare at the world through my finger. I'm only going to see, so you can't see it from here, but I can only see some of my makeup brushes, my Tervis, and part of my NaNoWriMo poster. So even with that, you can create a single moment. They're kind of like the flash fiction of poetry, I find haikus are. So the trick here is to just keep it to one moment and make sure your syllable count is accurate. So review, 3 lines, 5-7-5, usually about everyday objects. I would really like to hear your haikus in the comments section, and if enough people comment, maybe I'll make a video reading your poems. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is a cinquain, which is a little bit more advanced than a haiku, but it's not too much more advanced. So it still has no rhyme scheme. Cinquains are a little bit different, and they're a little bit longer than a haiku. So cinquains, as the name suggests, they are a French form of poetry, but it has 5 lines rather than 3. So 5 lines, and the syllable pattern follows this sequence. 2 syllables on the first line, 4 on the second, 6 on the third, 8 on the fourth, and 2 on the fifth. So you can think of it as 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. And they also don't need to rhyme. Cinquains don't need to rhyme, although you can rhyme if you want to. It's not an absolute no like with haikus. So cinquains, you can be a little bit more, I would say, elaborate in them. You should still, I would say, only focus on like a moment in time or an emotion that you want to convey. So, but like rather than looking at your hand, looking at the world through this size of a disc, you could widen it maybe to this size. So like from here I can see my iPad where I'm recording the video, I can see my whole vanity and my alarm clock and a bunch of other stuff because my desk is actually way messier than than I want it to be. So that's how you write a cinquain. And I'm going to share my cinquain. This one is called Entwined. Entwined in the misty winter I see you there. My dearest, your heart's like cold fog, pining. And that's the whole poem as well. So cinquains are also very short. All of these are very short poems. The longest one that I'm going to be covering is 6 lines long. That is how you write a cinquain. And cinquains are very addictive. I wrote 6 of them on the day that I was supposed to do cinquain. And like before, I would love to read your poems down in the comments section. So the third one I would like to talk about is a limerick. Now this one is more well known. Let me actually look up where this one originates. The limerick is actually an Irish form. Origin is kind of unknown, but it was thought of to be based on this old Irish song called Let's Go to Limerick or something like that. Limericks are a very famous form of poetry that is often taught in schools. I remember writing limericks for my 7th grade English class, and it was pretty fun. So limericks have 5 lines. And can follow 2 syllable sequences. So the first one is 99669 or 88558. So I'm going to put them up right here in case you missed that. But those are the 2 possible syllable sequences that you can have. I'm not totally sure if you can do 99559 or 88668. That might jack up the rhythm just a little bit, and it may not constitute a limerick. I'm not entirely sure on that. You can pick either one of those and it's still definitely a limerick. And the rhyme scheme is A-A-B-B-A. So it's A-A-B-B-A. And sometimes the end rhyme will be the same as the beginning rhyme, but that's not always the case and it's not a requirement. It's just something to keep in mind. And limericks are generally funny, although I'm not totally sure if that's a hard and fast rule as well. I've read some limericks that take a dark and ironic twist, if that makes sense. So I'm going to read one of my limericks that I wrote on the first day of this challenge. This one's called Wiggles the Worm. Wiggles, a timid, small pink worm, was terribly scared of a germ. He saw it and screamed. 'Twas hushed as it seemed, but loud for a little pink worm. Limericks are actually my least favorite type of poem to write because I tend to be much more somber in my work. But if you are a funny sort of writer, if you enjoy comedy, irony, and stuff like that, then limericks are definitely for you. They're very addictive as well if you know how to do them right with humor and stuff like that. So the fourth one that I'm going to cover is called, this is a Welsh form. I'm going to put it up on the screen because I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I tried to get an accurate pronunciation. It's hard to find Welsh pronunciations online. So clogger is the best I could come up with, but my Welsh viewers are probably, if I have any, I don't know, my Welsh viewers are probably cringing right now. So disclaimer on that. So clogger has 6 lines. It follows a syllable sequence of 8, 8, 5, 5, 3, 3, so it kind of dwindles as it goes along. I'll put that up right here for you. And it follows an A-A-B-B-B-A rhyme scheme. I had a lot of fun writing these, so let me share one that I wrote. I actually wrote these today, so that's cool. Well, not today by the time this video comes out, but today as in when I'm recording this. So let me find my favorite one. Ah, yes. This one's called Drops of Dew. Pure dew seep down morning's mint leaves, whispered purity on its eaves. Secrets abounded, message unfounded, leaves rounded, love conceived. It's a really fun poetry type. The challenge, I would say, is that it's hard to write with only 3 syllables toward the end. I find that 2 syllables is often easy for me, but 3 syllables for some reason it's weird, and you have to make sure it rhymes with the A rhyme scheme. And then the final one that I'm going to be covering today is the dodoitsu form. So this one is also a Japanese form. It's not covered in schools. The clogger nach is also not covered in schools, which is why I had a hard time pronouncing it. So dodoitsus are a Japanese form, and they're a little bit different than haikus, but they have some of the same rules that the haiku has. So there's no rhyme or meter to this poem. It has 4 lines, and the syllable sequence is 7-7-7-5. I'll put that right there. And the poem is also often funny, and it's usually about relationships or work, like, you know, your job or your career or something like that. This was also a difficult one for me to do because, again, I'm a somber sort of writer, and humor is difficult for me to write. But I wanted to share my dodoitsu with you anyway because it's an example, and I had fun writing it. So this one's called Unzipped Fly. They edged toward one another. Her breath was warm as they kissed. They pulled away. She giggled. Your fly is unzipped. That one's actually based on a funny headcanon I had about Nellura and my fanfiction series, so that's a little bit of background on that one. Dodoitsus are very fun to write. All of these are extremely fun to write. And I hope that this was a helpful video for you to find some short and sweet poetry forms to practice getting your toes wet when it comes to writing poetry. 2 resources which I definitely recommend you try for poetry. So the first one is called a theme generator. This will help you so much when you're trying to figure out what exactly to base your poem around, what sort of imagery and symbolism you want to use, and things like that. And in the comments section, because YouTube is not letting me make descriptions on my videos for some reason, I have linked there a theme description. It's actually used for like visual art and painting, but it was strangely helpful for me when I was writing poetry for this challenge, and it's still helpful for me. The other thing that I want to link is a resource called Rhyme Desk. This resource saved my life when I was writing the rhyming forms, because you can type in a word and you can type, like, I don't know, takes, and it'll give you every single word that they can find in their dictionary that rhymes with it. And their dictionary is massive, y'all. It's truly amazing. And that's all I have to say for this video. If you want me to make more videos on poetry, please comment specific things you want me to talk about. I want to talk more about poetry, but poetry is such a vast topic that I'm not really sure where to begin. So I'd really love to know what all you guys want to know and how you guys think I can serve you in this area. But for now, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and God bless you all.